Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are going to go over the what these Robinhood contracts are that you're seeing. It's actually very, very simple. But watching the numbers pile in on these things, I think it's absolutely wild. I'm going to move myself over so we can see. You can literally watch it live as they come in. I don't know. It's weird. So right now there was a Kamala dip buy. If anybody took advantage of that, it was 38 cents. I think it was at one point in time when they first started rolling out. Kamala was at 38 cents. Donald Trump was at 62 cents. So his contracts have gone down. Kamala's have gone up. So we're starting to see this kind of more of a I don't want to say 50-50, a 47-55. Interesting. So these basically are, I don't want to say an options contract. It's not gambling because it's an event contract. So, for instance, now this actually does expire January. So what's going to happen here is, let's say you think Kamala is going to win. You're going to buy this contract for 47 cents. Come January, if she is signed into office, that contract will be worth $1. Vice versa, if she doesn't, $0. This is a roulette trade. Again, not gambling. An event contract. I haven't bought any yet, but honestly, I gotta say it's entertaining. Kamala right now is at 75 million contracts. Donald Trump just shy of 67. You know what? I'll even pull it up just from the time of me making this thumbnail, and I do everything 5 minutes before I go live. So right now Kamala's still at 75. She's at 75.6. Donald Trump 67.3. So again, absolutely nuts. Election day November 5th. Last day to trade these January 5th. Contract resolves January 7th, and the payout is January 8th. That's wild. You'll watch these become absolutely nuts. It'll evaporate, here in just probably this week. But again, it's till January in case anything weird happens. I couldn't even begin to talk about what would happen in the world if one wins the vote, but it turns out in January it's somebody different. That would be wild. Anyway, wanted to jump on the train with everyone else. Talk about elections. But let's talk about election volatility, because the stock market's expected moves are all up. They've widened out quite a bit. So for anyone that does have my charts, you guys, all these lines are up to date. The charts are saved, so you guys have my chart link. You guys are good to go. So anybody on Patreon, the Mentorship group, or like even the YouTube members, you guys should have that, so all of this should load for you. There is going to be one small change coming up, just giving everybody fair warning. There's been zero pushback so far, but coincidentally, we made this decision in the Mentorship group right before it actually happened. We're talking about replacing the Russell with the Dow, and as soon as we talked about that and said, let's do that, because I break down the SPY, QQQ, and IWM, right? So the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell. Russell, a lot of times, will break down the financials, and that's cool, but there's just not a lot of trade opportunity there. It's kind of, it has its days, but it's certainly far and few in between. But as soon as we talk about replacing that with the Dow, NVIDIA gets added to the Dow. So NVIDIA did see a nice little jump on that. I want to say that was just this weekend. So after hours, I think NVIDIA is, that was the pop in NVIDIA being added to the Dow. Crazy. All right, but anyway, let's start from the top. Let's rock and roll, because everything is elevated. And I did go short over the weekend. Actually, there's going to be a live stream on Don Fran's show later. I'm going live with David Jaffe. He was in the business, worked at, I'll let him introduce himself. I don't want to butcher it. In the business. So I want to talk to him about what would he think is a good idea to hedge, because I do think there is something coming. I don't think it's here now, although I am short over the weekend. I don't want anybody to confuse the two. But we are going to talk about that, hedging, what would be good. Because the growth count did grab utilities, but I don't know if we're going to grab bonds. This is a conversation I'm going to have later, but that is all to come. So jumping into the stream right now, we'll rock and roll. Looks like the dollar opened up. We're already rocking to the south side, which is amazing. Burn this thing down. This is a weekly zone, so really I want this to reject right here. Come up right into that weekly zone, indecisive, Let's send it. Hopefully this week is red. We're back on the short the dollar. As far as the yen, it's a little bit up. Okay, we're getting there. We need that. We need this because I'm short the Japanese yen. Look at that. That's what we're talking about. So technically a little bit of a gap up. This alert right here is where I'm really adding on. I'm going in. I have nothing compared to what I was in earlier, but that's where I will be all back in, which will be 10 lots. One lot is 100,000, so I'm going to go 10 lots short. That's what I had kind of coming down here, and that's when I will be all back in. Looking at Bitcoin. Just like we talked about, it hitting that zone, pulling back, and I am buying the dip on this one for now. I do think markets are going to favor one over the other. Let's just be honest, keeping all political opinions aside. I do see crypto, if Trump is president, being a little bit more bullish. Again, we'll see. Time will tell. I don't typically give the president that much credit, but it's clear there's been almost some kind of favoritism. We'll see like in the headlines when someone's pulling ahead. I mean, we've kind of seen it, not enough to really just get its own video about it. A lot of it could be chalked up to coincidence, but for now, that's kind of where my head's at on that one. All right. But anyway, we talked about it breaking this, hitting that zone, pulling back right into this bright yellow zone, and that would end up being the dip buy. I think Bitcoin's going to be making a move for it. Get above this again, and I think we go. So at that point, I'm looking forward to Bitcoin hype, which is why I've been buying things like Mara, Beto. I had MicroStrategies for a little bit. I just had some call options, sold those. It was just a great trade. I just have not bought the dip on that, but certainly watching for that now, as a matter of fact. S&P. So everything actually gapped down. Right before I was recording this, everything had gapped down and was green. Kind of right now we're indecisive. So this is the futures. This is what drives order flow into the ETFs like SPY or VOO if you watch Andre Jick. You got QQQ and then the Russell IWM. But anyway, this is what drives order flow. So you don't really see gaps in here. Gaps are to be noted, right? So we actually closed right here, opened up down here. So there was no buyers there, which is interesting. Good for me because ultimately I'm short. I don't want that to be going up. I do think, however, breaking this trend to the downside, I think we got a little bit more. I still think this is probably a dip buy for now. I do think we're going to see a hard correction, if not an absolute crash. But I think that's next year. I don't think this is it now. I think we're removing some trades off the table. I think institutions are just pulling back for election volatility, and then just getting back in. This is the natural ebb and flow. The overall short-term trend just down anyway. Bear flag playing out. I'm actually short SQQQ, so I should have just said all of this on the next page. But like I said, these are all posted. If you guys noticed this morning, got some work done early. I did post the expected moves charts in the chat, so that's all there. The Nasdaq. So I'm short this by the SQQQ ETF. Didn't want to grab put options, and I didn't really want to hold a futures contract. I guess I probably could have gone MNQ, but I trade ES and NQ. So decided I wanted a little bit of leverage, but also not short-term options. So I'm in SQQ. We'll see if that gaps up. Right now, I want this to just reject and melt down. The curious thing here is this kind of overall trend lining up right with this zone. Honestly, it doesn't look like a bad dip buy right now. Just all things considered, just keeping the bias aside, that zone right there would more than likely be a dip buy outside of any other scenario. Again, kind of like when Powell's coming up, when there's a rate cut decision or reports coming out, you see some selling off into that. Not panic or anything crazy, but it's just bigger institutions removing risk. And a lot of times, it's kind of what I tell everyone else. Like when that report's coming out, just know when that news is coming out. Because you have one or two options: delete your stop loss, and I'll see you on the other side. Or just take your position off. A lot of times in volatility, especially in Forex, if you have a stop loss anywhere in sight, someone's going to snatch up that order book, you're tagging out, and it's going to tag out and be right back up, and you'll wish you never did. Now, the other side to that coin, there's always a heads and tails, is it doesn't snap back up. It just goes back. It just continues south. Wherever you thought you had your stop, blast right past that, and there's no coming back. So if you can't handle that in general, position sizing might be too big. Your risk appetite just isn't there. You probably are better off closing the position. But again, that's why I care about when the news is coming out, not so much what it actually is, which is why this is not a news channel. All right, as far as the Russell for now, the Russell would be, I think, a buy down here at this yellow zone and a sell up here for now. So until it gets there, that's kind of it. Let's just check out the Dow real quick. Selling off. There's a gap fill over here. Checking that zone from the top. You could argue this might be a decent dip buy. I don't know if I'd give it a bunch of time. My stop would be right here, right? Oh, the 42,000 mark. What an awkward stop. What a fast way to have your stop sitting right there and get tagged out. That's obnoxious. No way I'd want to buy a futures contract. But honestly, I don't think it's the best setup. Never mind. Not with $5 a tick, and you're going to put your stop way down here. There's only a couple people I know that have the accounts to probably actually support that without it being a detrimental hit. M1 is the micro. Yeah. Are you poor, Cody? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding for anybody that trades the micro. Yes, MYM is the micro of this. So it should be what, 50 cents. Anyway, this is what I'll probably start regularly breaking down. It's not one I've been trading. I call it the Grandpa Dow, but the movement is there. Liquidity is there, obviously, so it could be a decent one that I trade. And it's actually very rare because I trade the same stuff over and over again. But the Russell is kind of just more of a peak. It's very rare that the NASDAQ or the S&P is just not in a tradable spot for me in almost any market, because whether it's trending, choppy, or I can probably trade all of it. It's just a matter of, do I want to be in futures? How choppy are we? Sometimes it's just better not to be in it. Are we trending? Maybe I want to be in options. There's just a lot of ways to go about it. So it's very rare that I'm not in one of those. And that's typically when I'm looking at the Russell. Either an alert just went off or the setups aren't really there, so I'm kind of just waiting and I take a peek. I think this one could be a decent one to fill in my personal time at least. Lori says, I keep deleting all the political texts that come across my phone. Don't need to read any of them. Yeah, I got to say, this election year has me completely burnt out on politics and people's opinions. And man, I don't know if social media just got more, if everybody just got louder, but it's obnoxious. I think it really is. But I do like having an iPhone. The iPhone, I can just click report junk. I don't know if Android has that. That's not a joke. I'm just saying, just report junk and move on. It deletes it for you. It's amazing. Okay, there is a video coming up, guys. I'll give you the TLDR. I think it needs to be investigated. I'm going to sell some Meta. Now, Meta's my number one position. I've made fun of a lot of people for not having it their number one position. I've also made a bunch of money on Meta. Meta's been one of the easiest stocks I've ever had. I've told you guys to buy it when it was at 90. Really. Now, I had it all the way back. I've had Meta for the longest time. And it did hurt writing it down. I did add on quite a bit. So from 90 to 600, it's had a pretty good run. It's been one of the easier ones. There's something I think that, I don't know, I just have this feeling Hindenburg is right around the corner, or someone from Hindenburg investigates this. Again, TLDR, I posted something for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and everybody knows it sucks. And I have ran ads on there before and other things, and now I'm just curious how much of those numbers are inflated, if not, I don't know how you would say that, blatant fraud. Or lies. So people would send me those automated messages. Hey, is this still available? So I posted one thing. It was a shelf. Right now it's at 90,000 views. It just keeps going up. And I have probably 90,000 DMs. And I'm not even kidding. I am deleting these things every few minutes. And it's the automated response. Hi, is this still available? And I send back the automated response. Yes, are you interested? I just click that and then just move on. And I've had so many people tell me I didn't send that. I'm like, all right, well, I don't actually have a lot of faith in people. I don't assume they're smart. So I figured maybe they accidentally. Some people said, oh, I must have accidentally hit that. Until it happened to me. Someone messaged me, which apparently was a reply, because I had asked them if that item was still available. I've never even seen this thing in my life, which now had me question how much of this engagement just isn't real. And to this being a big platform for selling ads, how much of that is being inflated for numbers? How much of your – because when you run a sales funnel and all stuff like that, you'll go from cold leads to warm leads to hot, just kind of as they progress. And are they just selling the idea of warm leads to a lot of people? And really they're just collecting money because they're algos. I don't want to say it's fraud, but what are they doing that's making these things automatically send? So it's the first time I have ever thought, do I have too much meta? Because I think something like that could come out, and that would be a huge dip buy. So I need to do probably a little bit more digging on this. It's going to be its own standalone video. I'm obviously not going to sell all of it. That I think would be silly. But right now, if that report came out tomorrow, that would sting. I mean, that would really hurt because I have a lot of this. So probably going to dial that back. I'm getting a lot more excited about Tesla. I think an energy race is coming. I think you have plenty of time. This is not the buy it right now. I told you guys buying Tesla right here was like buying Meta at 90. We're up. Fine. If you listen to that, good. Hair's not on fire right now, but I'm going to start adding more. Because of Meta's growth in my personal account, we've got some gaps between my number one spot and Tesla's my number two spot. So I think I'm going to dial that back. I'm going to lock some of that in and just distribute it elsewhere. So that's what I am going to buy as far as I want something that's a hedge that's not in tech. I don't know if it's going to be bonds. I might look at TLT. I don't know. Everything is tech. Everything's AI. So I want something that's going to perform well because I do think a correction happens. I want it to perform well in that. I want to lock in those profits and then buy the dip. I want to hit it from every angle. Zuck is sitting there and clicking on ads to increase ad sales. Anyway, so that's how it's happening. I'm going to sell some Meta, and as of right now, I am going to buy some more Tesla. And then whatever I find, that's a hedge. I also just bullish overall energy, so natural gas, U.S. oil, but also storage. And Tesla's energy storage is killing it, which I don't care about the cars. I got to be honest, guys. I just don't. It's cool. I don't want to downplay it. Many people have tried that, and so far Tesla's the only one. They're not going bankrupt. Competition is not coming. It would be cheaper for Ford to buy everybody a Model 3 than sell a Ford Lightning. But I think their energy is going to be much bigger. So that's what I'm pumped about. That's what's coming out for me, I think. Anyway, I'll keep it short and sweet, guys. I have to wrap it up here. I have to get to my mentorship group tonight. If you guys are watching live, I will be back on, actually, in 45 minutes. Again, with David Jaffe, but this is Don Fron. Should be on Don Fron Trading. But I'll be on Don Fron's show with him. So if you want to watch that, just make sure you're on that channel. And I will see you guys then. Have a good one.